Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. So today it's another one of my by now famous unboxing videos where I put out a pretty much unedited video of me unboxing something and just a way for me to get some more content out there for you guys, which doesn't take me so much time, and I also think it's a bit of variety on the channel. So we have a fragrance here. Often I've been doing either fragrances which have been out for many years or in many cases actual vintage discontinued ones, and this is very much one of those. So really excited to get this fragrance in this week, a rare gem indeed that has got some really good talk in the fragrance community from those lucky enough to have tried it. So the fragrance was first brought to my attention by Chris from the excellent channel Scentland. He's based over in Europe, and I'll put a link to his video review of this one in the description of the video. Great review. And it's a discontinued classic, first released in 1994. It's a celebrity fragrance, a fragrance that is in honor of and named after and part of the brand of a real legend of the world of music. And if you know who's who, you'll have recognized him, I'm sure, from the thumbnail of this video. So let's get stuck into the fragrance first of all, and then we'll talk about a bit more about the person behind it and of course the scent itself. So here we go. Okay guys, so you can see who it is, and I've been very careless there because I've already scratched the box by stupidly using a knife thinking there was more packaging than there was. Oh dear, I never was one for boxes being the most important thing, but that is unfortunate. There we go, silly me. So it is Luciano Pavarotti Pour Homme. This is a men's fragrance, first launched in 1994 and of course associated with the legendary opera tenor Luciano Pavarotti. Let's have a look at the fragrance itself. Now, incredibly, I got this on eBay, and as we can see there, we have a picture of the great man himself, Luciano Pavarotti, and it appears to be, that looks like, I think it's actually hand signed by him, that's not printed. So that's absolutely incredible. I'm not a massive expert on him, but I will tell you a bit about him. So I wasn't buying it for the reason of getting the autograph, but I'm pretty excited to have that. It's a really nice thing, and we have a CD here as well. We'll have a look at the fragrance properly in a moment. I'll do the big reveal in a minute. Before that, let's just talk a little bit about this famous man himself and find out a bit about Luciano Pavarotti. Let's get him in the picture there. Let's try that. Okay, so Luciano Pavarotti, an Italian opera singer born in 1935 in Modena in Italy. He passed away in 2007, sadly. When he grew up, he wanted actually to be a football goalkeeper. That didn't quite work out. And by 1955, he was pretty much giving his full-time attention to the development of his career as an opera singer. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, he became rather successful in this particular craft and sang many famous big operas by the famous Italian opera composers, people like Puccini, Verdi, Donizetti, that kind of thing. For many of us, the time when he really became a worldwide public figure, someone who is almost a household name for many people around the world, was around about the late 80s, and in particular 1990, when he performed before the World Cup final. I think the day before, he gave his first concert as one of the three tenors with the other big names in the world of opera singing at the time, Placido Domingo and Jose Carreras. His famous rendition, in fact, of Nessun Dorma by Puccini was the theme tune for the BBC coverage in England of the World Cup that year as well. So he really burst into the public imagination at that time and then became pretty much a household name. Went on to have a great career. He did a lot of this concert stuff with the three tenors. That was really a big thing, touring the world. And many people will know his name. I don't claim to be a huge expert on opera. I don't claim to have ever been to an opera, but he certainly has an absolutely belting voice. He looks pretty snazzy there. Rather a chunky big man, actually, and famous for living life to the full. There is an anecdote, in fact, that just before his last performance, I think it was in Covent Garden in England, he kind of went missing, and it turned out that he was in his dressing room. He'd gone there with two female dancers, one of whom, when the stagehand went to try and get him, saying it's time for your concert, found him in a rather compromised position with one of the young ladies, let's say, kneeling down in front of him, helping him to relax before the concert, while the other one apparently held up his stomach. So there's a charming story. Anyway, let's get into the main thing which you're here for, and that's the fragrance itself. So let's have a look. So Pavarotti, Luciano Pavarotti Pour Homme. Well, it's a beautiful presentation indeed. We've got a very nice lined box there. I picked it up for a price of around about 60 something pounds on eBay, which was a real steal. It's now sadly discontinued. Let's have a look at the bottle design. Extremely elegant and beautiful bottle design, I think it's fair to say, although kind of simple. So I like the bottle design. Not sure if it's ever been sprayed before, but we can see. And we've also got the shower gel here. Imagine that, Luciano Pavarotti shower gel. I'll be enjoying that one later. So I'm going to move the box out of the way and we'll just focus on the fragrance itself next. Let's see if that works. Can we make that work? I think we can, guys. I think we can make that work. Okay, so Luciano Pavarotti Pour Homme, a legendary fragrance amongst those in the know. It's got really good reviews on Fragrantica. I don't actually know how much it cost when it first came out, and I also don't really know where you would buy it, because let's think back to 1994. Of course, no coincidence that it's released at the time when he's pretty much at the peak of his worldwide fame and popularity. And you know, we didn't have the internet. It existed back then, but we weren't generally buying things the way we do now on the internet. So I guess it was in some stores, but I certainly don't remember it being a fragrance that I was aware of as a young man back then. So let me know if you actually remember Pavarotti's fragrance being out. There is a female flanker to this one which came out in the year 1995 called Pavarotti Donna, I believe. So I haven't tried that one. This one I got a sample of it. So someone very kindly sent me a sample. Thank you to the person who did that. Rich Mitch is his name. And it's that's why I went and took the plunge here. So it's not actually a blind buy. Let's talk about the fragrance notes. So 1994 release, the perfumer David Appel of Givaudan. The notes for this one are bergamot, neroli, petitgrain, ivy, lemon verbena, rose, geranium, iris, clove, patchouli, cedar, oak moss, apopanax, vanilla, tonka bean, amber, honey, leather, benzoin and liatrix, which someone on Fragrantica has said actually is a little bit of a tobacco type accord thingy. So that's kind of interesting. So the fragrance is described as a woody chypre fragrance. I've got the spray of the one that somebody very kindly sent me there. So let me just describe a little bit about how it smells. Really incredible fragrance. One thing that it reminds me of actually in the dry down is the vintage Givenchy Gentleman, a legendary fragrance from 1974, which is a real patchouli bomb. So I get a lot of patchouli in this fragrance. However, that's more in the dry down, and after a while that comes through, as does a rather nice sandalwood note, which has led some people to compare it to Chanel's Egoist. Another person on Fragrantica also mentioned Guerlain Heritage, which is not a bad shout. That's another quite heavy in patchouli fragrance. I get a beautiful boozy opening on this one. There's a honey note in there, and I definitely pick up on that honey sweetness, which is also a note in common with Givenchy Gentleman. But this one is much more exotic and rich and sweet smelling than the vintage Givenchy Gentleman that I've got there. It really has a niche quality. If I was blind smelling this and someone said, is this designer or niche, I would say this is a niche fragrance. There's a bit of an old school feel, definitely, but I would say it could well be a modern niche release. It doesn't necessarily smell like it has to be old, although there's a hint maybe of that real oak moss and that kind of heaviness. Definitely a leathery feel that does have a slightly old school 70s, 80s vibe about it, but it's not a stereotypical very 80s smell or 70s smell. And of course it did come out in 1995. So for me, so far, having just had the sample about a week, so it's been about a week since I first tried it, then very recently pretty quickly managed to snap up a bottle. I guess we better spray. Let's spray the real bottle. We got to give you the money shot here, guys. So here we go. So it looks like it's never been sprayed, so I'm ruining the resale value, and I've already scratched the box. Yeah, oh, lovely. It's got there's a little bit of a freshness about it. Whoops. Definitely this boozy leather mixture. It might even remind some people a little bit of Bentley for Men Intense, maybe even a higher quality. Well, that's a really good fragrance too, so I'm not going to say higher quality. There's definitely a lemony kind of fizziness as well in the opening, so it's got a little bit of freshness, booziness, honey and leather. Very complex, very rich, and really befitting the man that the fragrance is named after, because he was a larger-than-life figure. It would be no good, would it, if he brought out a tame little fragrance like a David Beckham Instinct or something. This reflects the character that is the name behind the fragrance, Luciano Pavarotti. A really rich life and a rich fragrance to reflect that. A fragrance that kind of reeks of passion, reeks of something a little bit magical, a little bit special, a little bit out of the ordinary. So a superb fragrance in my limited trying of it over this last week, but I'm really happy to have this one in the collection. Lovely bottle design, and of course a legendary figure is the man behind the scent, the man himself, Luciano Pavarotti. Guys, thank you very much for watching the video. Let me know if you've tried this one and what you think about it. I'd be interested to know. If you're interested to hear more about a few vintage fragrances, I'll be doing a special edition on 4 or 5 of my current favourites on my Patreon group this Sunday. That video will be up. You can join that by following the link in the description. It just costs $2 a month, or I think it's actually $2.40 or something. There was some tax thing went up, sorry about that. But you do get a video extra from me every week over there. And also, we're soon going to be talking about the follow-up to Gravitas Pour Homme, my own creation, under the brand name Naughton and Wilson. Also got a bit of patchouli in that one. We're thinking about what the next release is going to be. If you've got any top tips, do you want to see a citrus aromatic? Do you want to see a gourmand fragrance? What kind of fragrance do you want to see us release next under the brand name Naughton and Wilson? And let me know also if you've tried Gravitas Pour Homme. Guys, thanks ever so much for watching. Whatever you're doing in life, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.